Anitimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Kutyam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putate Tan Maitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatasmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devyam Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptastaka Mari Tarangamadye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tavevasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we're going to continue hearing the beautiful Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhyakanda chapter 12. We're at about verse 350, 352, 353. And we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhayacharnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, and to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So, we had begun yesterday hearing about after the deliverance of Jagai and Madhai and the kirtan in the house or the courtyard of Mahaprabhu and all the extraordinary behavior between the Vaishnavas and how they now embraced and accepted Jagai and Madhai as one of their own. Within moments, completely transformed from the most degraded, what would you call them, untouchables, right, to the most dearly beloved, all by the mercy of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. Lord Nityananda fulfilling the desire of Mahaprabhu. And so, understanding this is the mentality, the feeling in the heart of all of our exalted Guru Varga to deliver all the Jagai and Madhais in the world. And we heard, then they went and they were having water sports, right? And water fights, and nobody could defeat Mahaprabhu. They all ran from him. He was so powerful. And then we heard about Nityananda and Advaita engaging in water sports. And how Advaita, being overwhelmed and distressed, criticized Nityananda. You are intoxicated. You never can become a sannyasi by killing a brahmana, right? So it's as if he was hurt, right? In other words, be careful, you're intoxicated. Don't you know what you're doing? And then he went further and said, you have eaten in the houses of the people from the West. No one knows about your family, birth, or caste. So many hidden meanings there. Generally, the people of Gaudiya, in Navadvip especially, the learned, high-class brahmanas, anybody because that's on the shore, the eastern shore of India, so anybody that's from the West, they're less, right? They're maybe degraded, uncertain of their qualification, right? But Nityananda, you've gone everywhere, and you've eaten with these people. And in fact, nobody knows, what is your family, what is your birth, what is your caste. But in fact, it was sort of like a glorification and a hint of things to come, right? That the preachers of Mahaprabhu's movement will be coming from unknown families, birth, caste, and traveling everywhere to deliver this message of Mahaprabhu, following in the footsteps of Lord Nityananda. So then he says, did we read this one? Pita mata guru nahi janiye ki rupa kaya pare sakala balaya avaduta. No one knows about your father, mother, or spiritual master. You eat everything, wear everything, and advertise yourself as an avadut. Purport. So Advaita Prabhupada translates this. We have no information about your father, mother, or what kind of spiritual master you have accepted. You are passing as an avadut and accepting food and charity from anyone and everyone. The position of an avadut. In his purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada says an avadut is one who has surpassed the stage of Paramahansa sannyas. Even in sannyas there are gradations, right? 4 gradations. Topmost being Paramahansa, and avadut is one who has gone beyond that. And actually he's completely free from all the rules and regulations of Varnashram. He's situated on the topmost transcendental position. And so he, giving his mercy, he's eating anywhere and everywhere, wearing whatever he feels like. He's not constrained, constricted by any formalities of society. Completely. And in that, we realize that Advaita is bringing these things up. So Advaita Prabhupada is going to explain this in the next verse, so I'll wait. Nityananda pratistava kare vyapadesh shuni Nityananda Prabhu gana sahahase. As Advaita indirectly glorified Nityananda on the pretext of criticizing him, Nityananda Prabhu and his associates laughed. Okay. Purport. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada explains, the statements of Advaita are deceiving. They are indicative of Sri Nityananda's glories. On hearing the words of Sri Advaita, Nityananda Prabhu and his followers began to laugh. Because when he speaks, by what energy does Advaita Acharya speak? He's Vishnu Tattva, just like Krishna has his Shakti. And by that Shakti, the desires of the Lord are fulfilled, are expressed. And so these transcendental personalities, Shuddha Saraswati is always dancing on their tongue. So even if it appears that one thing is being said in a negative or improper way, actually it's the highest and most glorious statement, because they're completely transcendental, and Advaita and Nityananda are in a completely loving relationship. They're actually non-different from Tattva. Advaita is an expansion of Nityananda. How could he ever not have the deepest affection and desire to glorify him? So then, Samharimu sakala moharadoshanai ettobali krodhe jvale acharya gosani. Advaita Acharya burned with anger as he exclaimed, "It will not be my fault when I destroy everyone." What kind of anger? What kind of anger? Anger is one of the transformations of prema. And Advaita, remember, he became so angry at the condition of the world and the condition of Navadvip, where the great devotees who had assembled preparing for the appearance of Mahaprabhu, so many great devotees were there, and the conditions and the treatment they were receiving was so terrible. And Advaita was prepared to burn the whole planet, even universe, to ashes, unless the Lord appeared to rectify all this, right? And so, somehow, he's saying, it's not my fault when I destroy everyone. That mood can come up. The Lord, he has 3 features. He's the creator, He's the maintainer and he's the destroyer. In the Kali Yuga, though, he's the destroyer of atheism and demoniac mentality. So, but let's hear about this anger. Acharyara krode hase bhagavatagan krote tatvakahedena shuni kuvachan. Seeing Advaita Acharya's anger, all the devotees laughed. In anger, he actually spoke the truth, which appeared as harsh words. Oh, our curtains are open. Beautiful Radha Raman. We're appearing here. There we go. Look at that. Whoops. There we go. Beautiful. There. There's our Srila Gurudev. There. Oops. Srila Prabhupada is also there. So, seeing Advaita Acharya's anger, all the devotees laughed. In anger, he actually spoke the truth, which appeared as harsh words. Right? Whatever Advaita Acharya speaks is in fact the truth. And it may come out in different ways, just like Guru. Guru may speak very harshly, he may criticize, chastise, but they're speaking Shabda Brahman, Satya Sankalpa, and everything is meant for the benefit of all. Everything is done out of love. So, Hena Rasa Kala Hera Mama Nabujiya Bina Gyane Ninde Vande Se Mare Pudiya. Without understanding the purport of such loving quarrels, if someone, considering them different from each other, criticizes one and glorifies the other, he will be burned to death. It's a very important verse. I'm going to read this again. Because in subsequent generations, some of the followers of Advaita Acharya and Nityananda did split off, and being under the influence of, the modes of nature, not understanding, avidvadruti, right, the conclusions of the scripture, the behavior of these great personalities, they took sides, glorified one, apparently, but condemned the other. You can't do that. You can't do that. He goes on to say, without understanding the purport of such loving quarrels, if someone, considering them different from each other, criticizes one and glorifies the other, he will be burned to death. Wait, he's glorifying the other. But wait, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says, those foolish people who cannot enter into the loving quarrels of Advaita and Nityananda criticize one and glorify the other, and as a result, they are burned to death in the forest fire of offense. And similar things happened also. Some people favored Mahaprabhu but criticized Nityananda. They also lost everything. Right? This was actually the pretext for Krishna's Kaviraj leaving his home and going to Vrindavan as a young man. When Minikatam Ramdas came to his house and was in ecstasy, Minikatam Ram was a very close associate of Nityananda Prabhu, and the pujari in the house of Krishna's Kaviraj and his brother criticized Nityananda. And Minikatam Ram could not bear that, broke his flute and left. And because his brother, Kaviraj Goswami's brother, did not chastise the pujari, Krishna's Kaviraj felt he could not stay there in the place where offense to Nityananda Prabhu was tolerated. So he left. And walking, finally taking rest under a tree, Nityananda Prabhu came to him in a dream and said, now, he was so pleased with his faith. He said, now you go to Vrindavan, for there you will fulfill all your purposes. Everything will be fulfilled there for you. And then he was given the order to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita, which he did in his old age. So, even after this Chaitanya Bhagavat. So, without understanding the purport of some such loving quarrels, If someone considering them different from each other criticizes one and glorifies the other, he will be burned to death. Also, you should know, Nityananda, representation, he is the source of all of our Guru Varga. The same principle applies to pure devotees. You can so-called support one, but criticize, say, the godbrother of such a devotee. Is that, you have that status that you can criticize, another, especially amongst the followers of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, there are many exalted personalities. And due to misunderstanding and immaturity in the early years, many of us, seeing the quarrels between Srila Prabhupada and his godbrothers, took it upon ourselves to criticize those godbrothers as if we could understand that quarrel, which is actually love quarrel. And that's very dangerous. Srila Prabhupada said, I can criticize, you cannot. Right? And he also said that sometimes amongst intimate godbrothers, they can even give each other a slap. But if a disciple tried to take up that role and that enforcement position, it would ruin them. And when Srila Prabhupada was preparing to leave, he made that clear. He said, I've criticized my godbrother so much. And out of humility, he was feeling, I've committed offenses. Not an offense from his side, because it was disagreement on the transcendental platform, how to fulfill the mission of their Guru Maharaj. So many great personalities were striving mightily to do that. Srila Prabhupada had a specific mission, specific role, specific empowerment and vision, and he expressed that. And others had a different vision, and they expressed that, but that was not our position to criticize. And even to this day, people who continue that misconception and criticize those exalted personalities, it greatly negatively afflicts one's bhakti to take that position, to take that kind of behavior. And therefore he says, Nityananda Gaurachandra Yare Kripa Kore Sehi Se Vaishnava Vakya Buji Bare Pare. Only one who is favored by Nityananda and Gaurachandra can understand the words of the Vaishnavas. In other words, these pure followers of Nityananda and Gaurachandra, they may also have these disagreements. But unless you are very elevated, don't try to get in the way and intervene. There are other places where that's also described. Sehe kata kane dui maha kutu hali. Nityananda Advaita hoila kola kuli. After Nityananda and Advaita engaged in ecstatic pastimes for some time, they embraced each other. So there they seemed to be yelling and criticizing and fighting. It was all love. They embraced each other. They had such love. Mahamatta Dui Prabhu Gaura Chandra Rase Sakala Gangara Maje Nityananda Vase. The two Prabhus were greatly intoxicated with the mellows of love for Gaurachandra. Thereafter, Nityananda floated around in the waters of the Ganga. In this way, the Lord and his associates engaged every night in water sports after kirtan. Though part of the Astakalya Leela, Mahaprabhu, after kirtan, engaging in water sports. How delightful. Human beings have no power to see such pastimes, but the demigods secretly watch them. After taking bath in the Ganga, Gaurachandra and his associates came out of the water and loudly chant the names of Hari. Thereafter, the Lord gave everyone garlands and sandalwood paste that had been offered. And then they took leave and went to eat. The Lord entrusted Jagai and Madhai to the devotees and then offered his own garlands to the two. Although that's very important, right? To show his blessings. I remember one time when, what was the occasion? can't remember. We were being called on to make some glorification. Was it the time of Srila Prabhupada's? No. Any rate, Gurudev called on me, and I told some story that I had read in this book of the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada that were revealed by people after his passing, Indian devotees. And it was a pastime between him and Bhakti Keshav Maharaj. And I sort of embellished it, right? Which is inappropriate, and misconstrued or misconveyed the mood between the two. And Gurudev stopped me and chastised me in the middle of the description and said this would never have happened like this, and said they were like one soul. This is a big mistake, big blunder, da-da-da. And I felt devastated. Oh, my God. In front of the entire assembly, I have committed this offense. And I just felt so bad about doing it in that way. And I could barely stay conscious for the rest of the program that evening. And I was even writing in my notebook an apology letter. And I carried that mood of distress and remorse all night. Next morning, and then Gurudev comes into the temple and he sees me and he walks over and gives a big smile and puts a garland around me, right? Which I took to be like Jagai and Madai, I was such an offender, but I had remorse, right? And, he took it like, stupid kid. It wasn't deliberate. I was trying to do something for the enjoyment of the devotees, but, because of my conditioned nature, I was off. But he appreciated the remorse and the acceptance of the chastisement, right? Not fighting it, not trying to, out of false ego, say, oh, you don't understand, da-da-da. No. Guru gave correction. Go deep in your heart, see what is the instruction, embrace it, and nartas are purified by that. We're so full of anartas. If we think that we're not and that we're beyond any kind of correction, there's no hope for us. No hope. Our Srila Prabhupada one time was chastised by his Guru Maharaj in an assembly where somebody asked Srila Prabhupada for explanation of what Saraswati Prabhupada was saying, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada would speak in such high language and such deep philosophical conceptions at times. They would oftentimes, after the lecture, have one of his senior disciples explain it to the audience, kind of dumb it down so the audience could grasp what he'd been saying. So this man leaned over to Srila Prabhupada for some explanation, and Srila Prabhupada was a householder at that time, and Srila Prabhupada began to explain, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada stopped him and said, oh, you know so much you don't have to hear from your spiritual master? And after that, whenever Srila Prabhupada would talk about that, he'd have a big smile. He said, this was the perfection of my life, to be chastised by my spiritual master. Right? Because Gurudev told me that one time in a special way when I said something about Srila Prabhupada chastising me, and how some godbrothers had tried to use that against me to say, oh, you weren't a disciple, he chastised you, you're useless, worthless, and they were trying to break me down and control me by that. But Gurudev said, no. He said that because he loved you so much. Because by their influence, I was thinking, oh, yeah, Srila Prabhupada neglected me, didn't like me, da-da-da. He said, no, he loved you. The chastisement of the Guru is half of his mercy. It's actually the most important half. Getting praised, everybody likes that. Get the pat on the head, get the sweet words. Then, there's no difficulty in accepting praise. And it may inspire you to do more service in a particular way when you're being praised. But chastisement goes deep to the anartas, to the areas that we have to fix, right? And it's actually more merciful. If you only get praised, you're missing out on at least half of the mercy of Guru. I mean, after all, sadhu means one who cuts. Cuts what? Cuts ignorance, cuts illusion, cuts anartas, right? So, now the Lord's entrusting Jagai and Madai to the two devotees, and offered his garlands to the two, reinforcing, yes, these two are objects of my mercy. So when I got that garland the next morning, I felt, oh, okay, I'm all right. Gurudev, he likes me. He gave me his garland. And he had such a big smile, such a gentle, happy smile. So then I could realize, all right, just keep going here. So, E Sabalilara Kabu Avadina Hoya Avirbhava Tirobhava Matravede Koya. Although the Vedas describe their appearance and disappearance, these pastimes have no beginning and no end. After returning home, the Lord washed his feet and offered obeisance to Tulsi. Thereafter, Vishwambar sat down to eat, and Mother Shachi brought the offered foods before him. See, even the Lord would have his food offered, right? The Lord of unlimited universes offered prayers to all the devotees and then began to eat, because he's teaching. He's teaching from the perspective and from the mood of a devotee now. He's praying to his own devotees as a devotee himself. And that's what we have to do. It's a very sad condition if you're not happy in the association of devotees, where that causes you distress. Because actually that's the greatest blessing, to have association with devotees. Right? And we have so many pastimes where this is demonstrated. We always bring up the one with Raghunath Das, where Nityananda requested all the devotees to give their blessings to Raghunath Das. And so many times in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, that same thing, where they're Rupa Goswami on the beach, and Mahaprabhu reading his verses and becoming so happy, and then asking the devotees to bless Rupa Goswami. Right? He whom the Lord had inspired directly in the heart to do this literature, still, all you devotees kindly bless Rupa Goswami. We never are above wanting the mercy and blessings of devotees. And how do we get that? We want to cultivate a mood of service to the devotees. So, after honoring the Mahaprasad with great satisfaction, the Lord purified his mouth and sat down in the doorway. As Mother Shachi and her daughter-in-law saw these pastimes of the Lord, to the full satisfaction of their eyes, they floated in an ocean of bliss. Right? Who can describe the limit of Mother Shachi's good fortune? Only the thousand-headed Lord is able, if he's empowered. So Mother Shachi and Vishnu Priya, both, right? They, because of culture, Indian culture, they weren't amidst in the group chanting and doing all these things. But then after that's all over, or from a distance they can observe it all, and then when it's over, the Lord comes to the house, and they cook and they serve him with their own hand. And then they watch him in the household, just filled with bliss. There's no separation. They're great devotees. They're seeing in their heart all these pastimes. They're participating in their heart. Externally, they're observing the maryad of, male and female relations, which is appropriate, which we also have to do. We're not beyond that. And the Lord is showing that. But internally, they are Aira Bhagyara Simha Kebalite Pare. Bhagyara, right? Sahasra Vadana Prabhu Yadi Shakti Dare. Who can describe the limit of Mother Shachi's good fortune? That Bhagyara, right? Only the thousand-headed Lord, the Sahasra Vadana Prabhu, is able, if he's empowered. Right? Again, empowered by what? By the mercy of the Lord himself. The thousand-headed Lord, Ananta, is the expansion of Nityananda, who is the expansion of Mahaprabhu. So, Prakrita Shabde Ojeba Balibeka Ai Shabda Prabhave O Tara Dukanai. Even if one utters the word Ai as a mundane word, by the influence of the word ai, one will be free from all suffering. Right? So, in the purport, Saraswati Prabhupada explains, the word ai is derived from the Sanskrit word arya. Those who call Sri Gaurasundar's mother ai will be freed from all miseries. In other words, she is the Ayurda Bhagyara. The Arya, it's not a race in and of itself. It's a condition of consciousness. When they speak of Aryans, they mean those people who are practitioners of the topmost culture of bhakti. Right? Even Varnashram Dharma practiced in a very high way is the culture of the Aryans. But even beyond that are the topmost practitioners of bhakti, of love of God. And among them, Mother Shachi is the mother of all. All the Vaishnavas. Advaita Charya, there's a pastime later where Mahaprabhu is giving his mercy to everyone, or maybe it's earlier, I can't remember the sequence here. And he's giving prem to everyone, but not to his mother. And why not? Because she's criticized Advaita. Out of her love for Vishwarup, and who had left home because of the teaching of Advaita Charya. Advaita Charya had taught him such high conceptions, he left home and took sannyas. And Mother Shachi blamed Advaita, that this is your fault, my beloved son has left home. But again, this is prem. Her attachment to her son was not the mundane attachment of an ordinary mother and an ordinary son. And ultimately that son came back as Nityananda, because Vishwarupa is an expansion of Nityananda. But she criticized, and so Mahaprabhu said, I'll not give her mercy because she's spoken against Advaita. And so Mother Shachi went to Advaita to beg forgiveness. And he said, beg forgiveness for me? You are the mother of everyone, the whole universe. I take the dust of your feet. There's no question of offense. Pastime. So those who call Sri Gaurasundar's mother Ai will be freed from all miseries. Topmost Aryan, glorify Mother Shachi, be free from miseries. Putreda Shri Mukha Deki, Ahi Jaganmata, Nija Deha Ai Nahi, Jane Ache Kota. This Ai keeps coming up. On seeing the lotus face of her son, Shachi, the mother of the universe, forgot where she was. Purport. While seeing the lotus face of Sri Gaurasundar, Mother Shachi forgot herself. Being bewildered by the beauty of the Lord's face, she even forgot her motherly sentiments and her parental affection for her son. Just completely overwhelmed, stunned. This is one of the highest states of prem. Right? Vishwambara Chalilena Korite Shayana Takana Vidaya Hoya Gupte Devagana. When Vishwambara went to sleep, the demigods would secretly take leave. Right? So that's the end of that day. All right, now he's gone to sleep. The demigods who've been secretly watching that, now they go back to their places. And so we'll start from this point tomorrow. I think tomorrow we'll finish this chapter. Okay, so we will stop here. All right. And we offer our obeisance to our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, all that ever were, all that ever will be. Please forgive any offenses we may have committed. Please protect us from future offense. Let us cultivate a mood of Vaishnava Seva at all times, in all circumstances. Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.